A tiny kitten covered in toothpaste, a ghost hiding in a basket, and a car that crashed through a shop wall. And that's just the beginning. Stick around because this story gets wilder with every single second. Welcome to the world of Kitty. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now because you do not want to miss what happens next. Kitty was staring at a small white tube. She squeezed a little onto her paw and sniffed it. "Meow," she asked. "Meow," said her little sister Pepper. "That's toothpaste." Kitty pressed a button on the bathroom wall. A loud horn blared through the entire house. "That's it," said Mom from down the hallway. Meanwhile, Dad was trying to help Kitty prepare for something very important. He sat her down in the living room with a single stalk of broccoli on a plate in front of her. "Maybe self-improvement just isn't for you," he said, half joking. "Listen," said Dad, leaning in. "Nobody wants to eat broccoli, not even me." Kitty crossed her tiny arms. "Because," said Dad, lowering his voice, "the new neighbor, Miss Flora, she absolutely loves broccoli eaters." Kitty looked at the broccoli. She looked at Dad. She looked back at the broccoli. "Okay," she said. Dad straightened her little collar and gave her a nod. "You're ready." Kitty took one step toward the hallway, then stopped. She reached down and picked up a small bug from the floor. "Whoa, whoa, whoa," said Dad. "You absolutely cannot eat a bug right before talking to Mom." Kitty slowly put the bug down. Just then, the doorbell rang. Mom headed to the front door. A tall sheep in a vest stood on the porch, holding a clipboard. "Hi there." Mom stared at him. The sheep glanced past her nervously. "Is there—" "I'll go get my mom," said Kitty helpfully, grabbing the sheep's arm and pulling. "Ah!" the sheep yelped and disappeared down the driveway. Mom watched from the doorway. "I have no idea what you mean," said Kitty. Later, Kitty found Mom sitting quietly in her room, with the door half closed. "Mom?" "Yes, sweetheart." "You didn't do anything wrong," said Mom gently. Kitty pushed the door open and sat next to her. Then Pepper appeared in the doorway holding a drawing. "Look, Mom." Mom looked at it closely. "Oh, that's wonderful. But I think something is missing," asked Kitty. "Come on," said Mom, standing up. "I've got a better idea than drawing it." And just like that, before anyone could ask another question, Mom was already heading out the door. Where was she taking them? Keep watching, because this is where things start to get very interesting. The family walked next door to visit Captain Whiskers, the enormous old horse who lived on the property beside theirs. He had a long gray mane and always smelled like hay and old wood. Kitty had been trying to draw a horse for her school project, but something was always wrong with her drawings. Too round, too flat, not horse-shaped enough. "Hold up your drawing, Kitty," said Mom. Kitty held it up next to Captain Whiskers. Suddenly, it was obvious. "The neck," Kitty whispered. "It's the neck. It's too short." "We sure do," said Captain Whiskers pleasantly. "Hooray!" shouted Pepper. "Thanks, Captain Whiskers," said Kitty. "No worries at all," he said. "And for what it's worth, Old MacDonald absolutely does have a horse." Back home, the family got to work fixing Kitty's drawing. Dad rolled out a fresh sheet of paper on the kitchen table. Pepper brought the pencils. Kitty held the ruler.
"Rolling beeswax is easy when you've got big muscles," said Dad, flexing dramatically.
"Thanks, Dad," said Kitty, patting his arm. They worked together, step by step, fixing the neck, the legs, the shape of the head. "Bye-bye, weird cow horse," said Pepper. "And hello, actual horse," said Kitty proudly. Dad tilted his head. "Hey." Kitty looked down. The neck was now extremely long. "Oh no," she said. By the way, this is something that happens to Kitty a lot. She fixes one thing and accidentally breaks another. Does that ever happen to you?
Drop your answer in the comments right now. We want to know if Kitty is alone in this, or if you do it too. The family stood around the giraffe horse drawing in silence. Then a strange creaking sound came from somewhere in the house. Asked Pepper. Ghost basket, said Dad calmly, not looking up. Ghost basket? Kitty stared at him. Dad. Pepper grabbed Kitty's arm. It's true. I'm sorry, said Dad, sitting down. I should have told you both earlier. Liar, said Mom. The family crept through the hallway toward the sound. The creaking was coming from behind the laundry room door. Mom slowly pushed it open. Inside, tangled in a clothes basket, was Grandma Rose. Oh, hello, love, she said, waving. Everyone stared. Grandma Rose? Said Mom slowly. Grandma Rose thought about it. I didn't want you to move. She paused. Mom turned to Dad. This was her dinner, wasn't it? Said Dad, pointing to a small plate on the floor. I don't want to answer that, said Grandma Rose. I'll take it, said Kitty suddenly. Everyone turned to look at her. The house! I'll take it! Mom laughed. Grandma Rose began climbing out of the basket with great dignity. Fine, fine.
But those granny cushions on the sofa stay, said Uncle Stripes, appearing in the doorway in a cape. Oh no, said Mom. Who did it? Said Dad, pointing at Kitty and Pepper. Kitty did, said Pepper immediately. I should have known, said Dad. Kitty looked at the floor. Dad knelt down. Oh yeah, said Kitty. Bandit, get your elbow out of my face, said Grandma Rose, still climbing out of the basket. You two out, said Mom. Pepper turned to Kitty once they were back in the hallway. Magic should only be used to help people, she said, in her most serious voice. We were helping, said Kitty. Pepper considered this. No more cheekiness, said Kitty. Later that afternoon, the family gathered in the backyard. It's up to us how we use what we've got, said Dad. Said Kitty. Dad looked at her for a long moment. And some people have more of it than others, said Pepper quietly. No one had anything to add to that. And honestly, neither do we. Keep watching, because what Pepper says next changes everything. The next morning, Kitty and Pepper woke up early and snuck into the garden. Pepper had her broom. Kitty had a plan. How? Asked Kitty. Pepper grinned. At the edge of the neighborhood, Farmer Clover's crops had been shriveling up for days. She stood in the middle of her field, hands on her hips, looking at row after row of sad, wilted corn. They all are, she muttered. Her neighbor, old Mr. Bramble, leaned over the fence. There is no pink witch, said Farmer Clover. She's got a broom, said Mr. Bramble. That's just Pepper. Mr. Bramble lowered his voice. The pink witch has cursed our crops. I can't be dealing with witches right now. Farmer Clover rubbed her temples. I leave food out for her every single day, said Mr. Bramble, to keep her happy. Don't worry, said a voice behind them. They both turned. It was Grandma Rose, standing in the field in her gardening hat, holding a trowel. I used to be a world traveler, she said, with enormous confidence. And this, right here, is where the story really kicks into a different gear. Because Grandma Rose had a lot of stories, and not all of them ended the way she planned. Stick with us. Grandma Rose began telling the children a story as they walked beside her through the field. It involved some friends, a long journey, and a dragon hiding somewhere nobody expected. These furry socks are itchy, said Uncle Stripes, who had appeared again from somewhere. They're not socks, said Grandma Rose. Suddenly, something large and round was sitting in the middle of the path. Whoa, said Uncle Stripes. I know what it is, said Kitty. That is not Humpty Dumpty, said Uncle Stripes. It is 100% Humpty Dumpty, said Kitty. Said Pepper. Yes, said Kitty. The dragon is hiding somewhere else. He is not friendly, said Grandma Rose. A long pause. Then the egg wobbled and cracked and fell off the log it was sitting on. Ho, 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 said Uncle Stripes.
The group kept walking. The path led into a dense patch of trees. "Are we there yet?" asked Pepper, who had apparently been narrating the whole adventure as a story in her head the entire time. "I'll try," said Mom, who had arrived somehow without anyone noticing. "Are we there yet?" asked Pepper. "Not yet," said Mom. "Okay," said Pepper. Meanwhile, and this was happening at exactly the same time on the other side of town, Dad and Uncle Stripes had driven to the shops. The shop was closed. A sign on the door said so very clearly. "We'll see about that," said Uncle Stripes. "You're gonna ram the shop," said Dad. Too late.
The car went through the front wall of the shop. Quietly. Mostly. "We're in," said Uncle Stripes. "Make sure you pay for it," said Dad. "I'll just leave the money on the floor," said Uncle Stripes. The man who owned the shop appeared from the back room. He did not look happy. "You drove your car through my wall," he said. "Agatha was going to ruin my curtains," said Uncle Stripes, as if this explained everything. "He's coming," said Dad. "Get in the car." The shop owner was now chasing them on foot. "We've got 1 minute before Agatha does something terrible to those curtains." "Good idea," said Dad. Back at the house, Kitty and Pepper had found a new problem. Something, or someone, was hiding behind the garden shed, and it was making a sound that none of them had heard before. "Get her legs," said one voice. "I'm trying," said another. "That is not Tina," said a third voice. "Get her in the car," said the first voice again. Kitty and Pepper looked at each other. What happened next, we cannot fully explain, but it involved something called the toilet hand, an extremely unimpressed cat named Tina, and several minutes of the most spectacular backyard karate any of them had ever witnessed. "Tapping out," said the first voice. "Tapping out! Okay, we give up." Tina dusted herself off. "High five," said Kitty. Tina looked at her paw, then at Kitty. Then she gave the high five. "I'm sorry," said Pepper. Tina was not offended. She was aware. Inside, the family had gathered in the living room. A small, very round cat named Kim Jin had arrived and was looking for a place to sleep. "There's no room," said Pepper. "Oh, I know," said Mom, looking around. "What if we knocked this wall out?" "It's already big enough," said Dad. "It's not." "The only thing in this room that needs to be bigger is the television," said Dad. 50 inches is no longer an acceptable size in this day and age. Mom stared at him. "I'm getting the tape measure," said Dad. "What?" Dad looked at Kim Jin. Kim Jin looked at Dad. "Right," said Dad. "Yeah, this episode of The World of Kitty is called Tubby, and it's about to get much better." Kitty and Pepper built Kim Jin the finest cushioned bedroom anyone had ever seen. It had 3 walls, a roof made of a blanket, and a small window cut out of cardboard. Asked Kitty. Kim Jin looked at it for a long time. "I love it," she said. That night, Kitty moved her bed to the other side of the room. Pepper looked confused. "I did it so we can both still see Malcolm," Kitty explained, pointing at the small snail in the tank on the shelf. "Oh, yeah," said Pepper. They watched Malcolm for a while. "Come on, Malcolm," said Pepper. Malcolm did not do anything. "Oh," said Kitty. Malcolm still did not do anything. The great debate of the evening was about Gloria. Gloria was a large stuffed rabbit with one ear that flopped the wrong way. "These teddies are all mine," said Kitty. "And these are all mine," said Pepper. Now, both of them looked at Gloria. "She was a Christmas present to me," said Kitty. "You didn't get a Christmas present from Granddad?" said Pepper. "He forgot you were born," Pepper repeated. "So you said it was okay, Pepper." Pepper thought about it. "She can go in yours," said Kitty. Pepper smiled. "Deal," said Kitty. The next morning, the whole family packed into the car for a trip. Nobody told Kitty where they were going.
when the car stopped and she looked out the window. Tiles, sand, sun. "Dump your stuff, put your sunscreen on, and let's hit the beach," said Mom.
Pepper pressed her face against the window. "Bunk beds!" she screamed. Inside the holiday house, there were bunk beds, real ones, with a ladder. "Sharing?" asked Kitty. "If you like," said Pepper. Kitty climbed the ladder with enormous dignity. She sat on the top bunk and looked down at the room, at Pepper, at the small wrapped bar of soap on the pillow that said, "Welcome." "I think it's soap," said Kitty. "Ours?" asked Pepper. "Yes," said Kitty. "Wow," said Pepper again. Kitty climbed onto the small, strange box in the corner of the room that nobody could identify. "Cooking in here?" asked Pepper. "I don't know," said Kitty. "Okay," said Pepper. "Of course," said Pepper, climbing onto her own imaginary counter. "I'll just cook it." The afternoon was warm, and the beach was everything it was supposed to be. Mom had been right about this trip, even if she had been keeping it a secret for weeks. And now that everyone was here, it felt like everything that had happened, the ghost basket, the giraffe horse, the shop wall, Tina's karate, all of it had somehow led to this exact moment. This beach, these two sisters, these soaps. Dad stood at the edge of the water. "Here we go!" he called back. Kitty looked at Pepper. Pepper looked at Kitty. "Ready!" they said, and they ran into the sea. Now, if you made it all the way to the end of this video, you are officially a true member of the world of Kitty. Hit that like button, leave your answer to our earlier question in the comments, and subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you in the next adventure. Don't go anywhere, because Kitty's next story is going to be the wildest one yet.